Was Alexander the Great truly the greatest general in history? It's a bold claim, but when you look at his life, it's hard to argue against it. In just over a decade, this young Macedonian king carved out one of the largest empires the ancient world had ever seen, stretching from Greece to northwestern India. And the most incredible part, he never lost a single battle. So, who was this legendary figure? Born in 356 BC in Pella, the capital of Macedon, Alexander was no ordinary prince. His father was King Philip II, a brilliant military strategist who had transformed Macedonia into a formidable power. His mother was the fiery Epirot princess, Olympias. From a young age, Alexander was groomed for greatness. He was tutored by none other than the great philosopher Aristotle, who instilled in him a love for knowledge, literature, and exploration. But it was his father, Philip, who taught him the art of war. Alexander's own military genius was apparent early on. At just 16, he was left in charge of Macedonia while his father was away on campaign, and he successfully crushed a rebellion. At 18, he commanded the decisive cavalry charge at the Battle of Chaeronea, securing Macedonian dominance over Greece. He was a natural leader, brave to the point of recklessness, and possessed a tactical mind that seemed almost supernatural. In 336 BC, tragedy struck. King Philip II was assassinated, and at the age of 20, Alexander ascended to the throne. His father's dream was to lead a pan-Hellenic invasion of the mighty Persian Empire, to avenge the Greco-Persian wars of a century earlier. Alexander not only inherited this dream, he was determined to make it a reality. First, he had to secure his own kingdom. With Philip gone, subject states like Thebes and Athens saw a chance to rebel. Alexander's response was swift and brutal. He marched his army south at incredible speed and utterly destroyed the city of Thebes as a warning to the rest of Greece. The message was clear: Alexander was not a king to be trifled with. With Greece pacified, Alexander turned his eyes east. In 334 BC, he crossed the Hellespont into Asia Minor with an army of about 48,000 soldiers. It was a bold, almost audacious move. The Persian Empire, ruled by Darius III, was vast and unimaginably wealthy, with a seemingly endless supply of soldiers. Alexander was venturing into the lion's den. His first major test was the Battle of the Granicus River. The Persians held a strong defensive position on the opposite bank. Any conventional commander would have hesitated. Not Alexander. He personally led his elite companion cavalry in a charge straight across the river and up the muddy banks, shattering the enemy line. It was a stunning victory that opened up the western coast of Asia Minor to his forces. As he marched south, Alexander employed a mix of military might and clever diplomacy. Cities that surrendered were treated well, those that resisted were conquered. One of the most famous examples was the Siege of Tyre. This Phoenician city-state was on an island, seemingly impregnable. For 7 months, Alexander's engineers built a massive causeway, a land bridge, stretching half a mile out to sea, all while under constant attack. Once it was complete, his siege towers rolled across, and Tyre fell. This incredible feat of engineering showed the world that nothing could stop him. After securing the Mediterranean coast, Alexander marched into Egypt. The Egyptians, who resented Persian rule, welcomed him as a liberator. They crowned him pharaoh and declared him a son of the god Ammon. It was here, at the mouth of the Nile, that he founded the most famous of the many cities that would bear his name, Alexandria. But the ultimate prize was still ahead. The heart of the Persian Empire and its king, Darius III, awaited. The two armies finally met in 331 BC at the Battle of Gaugamela, in modern-day Iraq. This is often considered Alexander's masterpiece. Darius had chosen a wide, flat plain to give his Scythian chariots and superior numbers the advantage. He massively outnumbered Alexander's army, perhaps by as many as 5-1. The situation looked grim. On the night before the battle, his most trusted general, Parmenion, suggested a night attack. Alexander famously replied, "I will not steal a victory." He was confident he could win in broad daylight. And he did. Alexander's plan was pure genius. He advanced with his line at an angle, drawing the Persian left wing out. This created a gap in the Persian center, right where Darius III was stationed. Seeing his opportunity, Alexander led his companion cavalry in a perfectly timed, wedge-shaped charge straight for the gap. The charge was so ferocious and direct that Darius, fearing for his life, fled the battlefield. Panic spread through the Persian ranks, and the massive army collapsed. The victory at Gaugamela was total. The Persian Empire was effectively broken. Alexander marched into Babylon and Susa, seizing the imperial treasuries. He was now the undisputed king of Asia. But he wasn't satisfied. He pursued the fugitive Darius, who was eventually betrayed and killed by one of his own satraps. Alexander, showing respect for his fallen adversary, gave him a royal funeral. With Persia conquered, you might think Alexander would stop. But his ambition was boundless. He wanted to reach the ends of the world and the great outer sea. This ambition led him and his increasingly weary army further east, into what is now Afghanistan and Pakistan. The terrain was brutal, and the local tribes were fierce and resistant. Here, the fighting was different, a grueling guerrilla war, not the set-piece battles he was used to. Yet, he adapted and overcame. He fought his way through the Hindu Kush mountains and into the Indus Valley. It was here, in 326 BC, that he faced his final major battle, the Battle of the Hydaspes River, against King Porus of the Pauravas. Porus had a fearsome army, including 200 war elephants, a terrifying sight for men and horses who had never seen them before. Once again, Alexander's tactical brilliance shone. During a stormy night, he secretly moved a significant part of his army across the swollen river upstream, flanking Porus's army. The battle that followed was one of Alexander's hardest fought. The war elephants caused chaos, but his soldiers, disciplined and battle-hardened, stood their ground. Eventually, Alexander's cavalry enveloped the Indian army, and Porus was defeated. Impressed by Porus's bravery, Alexander allowed him to continue ruling his kingdom as a vassal. After this victory, Alexander wanted to press on to the Ganges River, but his army had finally reached its limit. They had been campaigning for 8 years and had marched thousands of miles from home. They mutinied, refusing to go any further. For the first time, Alexander had to bow to the will of his men. He agreed to turn back. The return journey was a disaster. Alexander split his forces, leading one contingent through the treacherous Jadrajan desert. Thousands died from heat and thirst. It was a rare and costly miscalculation. Finally, in 324 BC, he returned to the heart of his new empire. He began planning for the future, integrating Macedonians and Persians, encouraging intermarriage, and preparing for a new campaign to circumnavigate Arabia. But he would never see these plans through. In June of 323 BC, in the palace of Nebuchadnezzar II in Babylon, Alexander fell after a long bout of feasting and drinking. After 12 days of fever, Alexander the Great, the undefeated king and conqueror, died. He was just 32 years old. His final words, when asked to whom he left his vast empire, were supposedly, "to the strongest." This answer, whether true or not, sparked 50 years of civil war among his generals, the Diadochi, who tore his empire apart. So, was he the greatest general in history? His record is undeniable. Undefeated in any major battle. Tactical genius. Unmatched leadership and personal bravery. He didn't just conquer, he adapted, innovated, and inspired a loyalty that drove men to the edge of the known world. His conquests didn't just change the political map, they fused Greek and Eastern cultures, kickstarting the Hellenistic Age. A period of unprecedented cultural exchange and scientific advancement that shaped the world for centuries to come. While his empire didn't survive him, his legacy certainly did. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more dives into history's most fascinating figures.